Hi guys, it's a story about my epilepsy. Um, at the age of 7, I went to bed one night, and early hours of the morning, my family heard me making these funny noises, and they don't know what it was, so they come to check on me. All of a sudden, they seen me holding myself stiff with all this froth coming from my mouth. So anyway, they phoned an ambulance, and because obviously they didn't know what it was, and the ambulance came. They took me into hospital straight away. I remember waking up, obviously waking up in the hospital, and I looked at my parents and thinking, "Oh yeah," I didn't know who was who. All I can remember then is being sick all over the floor. I vomited. Anyway, they done some tests on me, and I got diagnosed with epilepsy. Obviously, I didn't know what epilepsy was. Obviously, I was only age of 7, and I think I'm right. When on my father's side, nothing. When on my mother's side, nothing. None of my family have had it. My sister didn't have it. My parents, my cousins, no one had it. So I didn't know much about it. A few weeks later, I had another seizure, but the second seizure was obviously again in my sleep. So I go, well, why am I having seizures when I'm sleeping? So obviously it's very, very, very nervous. As a child, then I didn't want to go to sleep. I was crying. I said, "Mom, I just, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm frightened. I'm frightened to have a seizure again in my sleep." Obviously, I had a few family talk me around, and I managed to sleep. But I kept on having seizures all the time, and thinking I just don't know what's going on because I was very, very, very young. So then I spent a lot of time in hospitals. Um, It's all I can remember is hospitals. I looking at the curtains because obviously I'm waking up and I'd seen the curtains in hospitals and they had balloons all over the curtains. That's all I can remember is my childhood. But 85 to 90% of my childhood was hospitals. That's all I seen as a child. I went outside playing with my friends, obviously close to my house. I had all my family to keep an eye on me because I was having seizures constantly all the time. Um, But then they said, "Oh, do some exercises, or what I mean, to try and keep fit and to go on not too much chocolate." And then they put me on this medicine. And I can remember this to this day. It was Epilim, and this thick red medicine. And I took one in the night, a spoonful. But I still having seizures. I still having seizures. Otherwise, I was taking this medicine. So I just didn't understand. So anyway, as time went on, they upped my medicine. I was still having seizures. They're slowing down a little bit. I'm still having them, but not so frequent. Anyway, I had it as a teenager. I still am having it when I was a teenager. But obviously, I never let it stop me. I tried my best to be a teenager. I'd go and ride a bike, and you know what I mean. But obviously, I had to be careful. But then I went when I was about 16, 17 then, and I was still having them. And then I went out to my friend's car, and just for a little ride. I just bored one night, and then I remember it was starting to come down snowing. And obviously, I was sitting in the back, and all I could see was the snow coming down. Obviously, then it triggered a seizure. I must have stared at it, and obviously, I found myself in the back of an ambulance, and I said to my friends, when I come around, what's going on? Where am I? You're in hospital now. You had another seizure because you must have stared at the snow, and it must have triggered it. And I go, oh, right, okay. And again, how much more I got to deal with this? Like, what I mean? I've had this all these years. When's it going to come to a stop? And then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, I had another seizure in my friend's car again. We just had a little bit of music on, and we was up this mountain. We was, and I just don't understand. I had another one. I think, when's this going to stop? I asked the doctor, excuse me, doctor, is it a cure? He said, no, sorry, there's no cure for epilepsy. We can control it up to a certain point, but sadly there's no cure. But let's say when I got to around about 19 and a half, I was having less and less and less seizures. I think, oh, this is great, this is. You know what I mean? I can enjoy my life again. You know what I mean? I can have a bit of life now. But can I come off the medication? Because the doctor said, you're not seizuring much now, you come off the medication. He said, you either grown out of it, or you can come back. I've been young, 19 and a half, and it's gone now, I've grown out of it now, none of my family have got it. So anyway, 20 years, fast forward 20 years, and 2019, and the end of 2019, I felt a bit strange. I can smell this funny smell. I can say something like a burning smell. I can't describe it. Anyway, my family asked my partner, can you smell this like a funny burning smell? And they said no. I said, well, right, well, why can I smell it and no one else can? I don't understand this. And I go to work, and then I just felt all dizzy, and I was walking on the road and I'm thinking, why am I feeling so bloody dizzy for? And I can smell these funny smells. And I can, don't tell me my epilepsy's come back again after 20 years. I went to the doctors, and the doctor said, no, I can't see you being epilepsy. Perhaps you put high blood pressure or something like that. Check my bloods. My blood pressure and everything was fine, and my bloods were fine, my iron and everything was fine. Anyway, I come back from work. I went to my partner's house. Thought I'll have something to eat now before I before I go to the gym, because I go to the gym a couple of days a week. But as I've been advice off the doctor as well to try and stay fit and healthy. So I was having something to eat, and then I must have had a big seizure, because obviously I woke up, and I was in a pool of blood. I was in a hell of a mess. I thinking, wipe my face, and I started coming round. I thinking, why am I bleeding? I don't understand. My partner was crying. She's crying her eyes out, and a bit tough to talk about, guys. But she said I had a massive seizure. She had to get food out of my mouth, and I said, well, I don't understand. Obviously, when I was eating, my mouth was full of food. Obviously when I was seizuring, obviously my partner phoned an ambulance, but the paramedics phoned back, and he said, do you want to go to hospital? I said, no, not particularly. You know what I mean? I don't. I was obviously my epilepsy have come back after 20 years yet again. I got to fight this yet again. But then they said that, I'm very lucky. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, the ambulance people said, your partner said, you had a seizure while having food in your mouth. And obviously your partner had to get the food, she had to scrape the food all out of my mouth. She had to stick her fingers in my mouth to get all the food out while I was seizuring. I could have bit her finger. I could have, but obviously luckily I didn't. Because I was on a tonic-clonic seizure, but obviously I was out there, I didn't know nothing. But then I got told that, if she didn't do that, the food would, because there's so much food, it would have gone in the back of my throat. And obviously there's this bit of a small, bit of a chance then that I could have choked. And as I said, I'm very lucky to be here, which to be honest with you guys is very, very frightening. Anyway, so I think, here we go, I gotta fight this again. And then a few weeks later, I had another one. I had another tonic-clonic seizure. So I had the second one, and I went to hospital, and I went to hospital. I said, look, doctor, can you please put me on medication? I had this when I was 7 years old, and now I got it again. You know what I mean? So I want to go on back on medication. I don't care what medication it is. Just please put me on this medication. So they can put me on medication. They give me Keppra. Obviously, I didn't know what Keppra was because I never that when I was a child. And so I had that for a few weeks, and then about a couple of months went by. I started feeling a bit odd, and about 3-4 months went by, and I was in my mother's kitchen, and I was I have a bit of food now, and we'll watch a bit of news, and all of a sudden I can remember waking up and I was on the floor. I'm thinking, why am I on the floor? I looked at my partner. Obviously, I didn't know who my partner was. I didn't know who my mother was. Because when you come out of a tonic-clonic seizure, a lot of people don't understand. You can look at someone and go, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Until you come around. Not everyone has that, but a lot of people do suffer with that, which I do. I didn't know who was who. And obviously my mother was crying and my partner was crying, and you know what I mean? I managed to get up off the floor. I damaged my shoulder. I pulled my shoulder out. I bit all my tongue. My eye was full of blood. So I was on the phone to paramedics. I spoke to them. And I said, I don't want to go to hospital. I know I had that when I was a child, and that's all I seen is hospitals when I was a kid. And no, I had enough of hospitals. I've had enough of that. Anyway, so a few weeks went by again. I had another tonic-clonic seizure. But this time I sprayed the wall full of blood, which I know sounds a bit crude, but I looked that side, and all down the wall is all blood. And my partner said to me, when I was seizuring, I went like that, and all the blood's come from my mouth, and I went like that, and I went like that, and I sprayed the wall. So I'm still having these auras. Obviously, I don't know much about that when I was young. You know what I mean? These auras, and obviously I know a little bit now as I've gone older. Because when I was a kid, thinking back when I was a kid, it was like a disco light. All I could describe it was like a disco light going off. It was on my left hand, left eye. My right eye never had it. My left side of the eye, all I can remember was a disco light flashing like that, really, really fast. But that must have been one of my auras. Obviously, when you're young, you don't understand. That must have been one of my auras. See? But now I'm getting auras now. I'm getting these funny smells. I'm getting deja vu. Obviously, so sometimes I come out of them, but sometimes then they go to the other side of the brain, and obviously then I'm having a tonic-clonic seizure again. So that's my story, really. That's how. So basically, I got diagnosed at the age of 7, like I said, to the age of 19 and a half. It stayed dormant for 20 years, and because it stayed dormant for 20 years, it's erupted. That's what the specialists reckon. Because it's sat there for 20 years, it's erupted, and now I know it's come back. So sadly, it's come back again after 20 years. I'm fighting it again. So anyway, guys, that's my story, and I hope this helps people in a bit of awareness. But remember, guys, stay strong. Cheers, guys.